Okay. Now, actually, if we are focusing on the superlative in the range, like Diego said, the skills of the PR guy and the skills of the product manager are getting to limitation. When you look really what technology was implemented to come to really an all new level. Before I hand over to Sebastian, who will guide you through the key sections of the bike, first of all, feel free to jump on the technical stuff later on. It's impossible to really be detailed in this kind of format. We could easily spend 8 hours of presentation and 1 hour of riding, but we prefer the other way around. So it's giving an overview of features. Secondly, let me mention everything we do to reach this level is just made to get the things more easier. Integrating this complex technology is not made to make things complicated. The idea is to get the things more user-friendly, enjoyable, and to allow the people on the handlebar just to enjoy themselves. This is just the main idea. So you need a little bit of time to understand what's all behind, but as soon as you're on the bar and operate it, it's just taking out the benefits. Sebastian, please, on stage, it's your task.
We're talking about the engine, so it's the well-known RC8 engine, and the base engine for the Super Adventure is obviously the 1301cc displacement engine from the Super Duke. Obviously, we made some changes on this engine base. So, very important change is that we changed the cylinder head. We made new ports, a new combustion chamber in order to improve the thermodynamical aspects of this engine. Another improvement is a longer 6 gear, especially to match the travel needs of this type of bike. And the result of all of these changes is a really impressive power band. We're talking about 160 horsepower, and we are talking about 140 Nm of torque, and a little bit later I will show you how this will look in the power graph. The base engine, as I mentioned, is well known. It's the RC8 engine. It's a real KTM style engine. We have 3 oil pumps. We have an oil pump which evacuates the chamber for the crankshaft in order to keep the friction low. Also, it's a DOHC engine with the finger followers DLC coated, which is quite a KTM standard also on our off-road racing engines. So this is really very high level. As I mentioned, the cylinder head, which is maybe one of the most important improvements of this engine, because due to these thermodynamical changes, we matches the needs of a big bore engine. You know, as bigger the bore, as more complicated is the combustion, and this is something where the KTM thermodynamic guys are really specialists in order how to treat these big bores. So also the double ignition helps a lot, but with these thermodynamical changes, this makes a smoother response, and especially in the part load and in the low revs, which is necessary because then you can use the very torquey behavior and this really big bottom grunt of the engine without having unstable in-part load. That means, you know, kind of on-off behavior of the bike. Also, a big step for this smoothness behavior is the new crankshaft. We added weight on the crank webs and also on the flywheel, which is in all at all around 2 kgs. But yeah, the effect is the increase of the masses of inertia smoothens the instableness of the rotating speed of the engine, and also this is again improvement in the low revs and in the part load behavior of the bike. An anti-backlash gear on the primary drive also reduces the noise and also kinds of vibrations. the functionality is it's on the primary gear. It's an additional gear which is spring loaded. That means the clearance in the gear drive is reduced or nearly eliminated. So, and this is maybe the most important figure. When you have a look at the torque curve, then you see with 2,500 revs of 2,500 RPM, we are already over 100 Newton meter. And this torque curve, it continues to 9,500. And this is the usable power band of this engine. And with the benefits I mentioned before, you can really ride the bike in the third or in the fourth gear out of the corner in a very low rev, and this makes the bike easy to ride, it makes it smooth to ride, and when you rev the engine, you can fly on it as well, so close as possible. So this was about the engine. When we come to the semi-active suspension, so the basic architecture of it is obviously the front fork. The front fork, which is the left side and the right side. On the left side, we have the stroke sensor in it. Then we have in front of the bike on the steering head, we have a accelerator sensor which measures the up and down acceleration. There's quite the same sensor on the rear of the bike and up on the shock absorber. And we have a stroke sensor rear, which is more or less an angle degree measurement device for the swing arm. That means it measures the angle and the speed of the angle change of the swing arm. And all of these signals are collected by the computer, by the SCU, and also other signals from the vehicle CAN bus. So signals like the throttle body signal, that means the opening signal of the throttle body, and other signals. So I mentioned the fork before. This is a split concept of the fork. That means we have on the left side we have the spring side, and as I mentioned before, it's the spring, and we have the stroke sensor here inside. And on the right side we have the damping side. This is also where the damping is influenced in. The split concept makes the whole fork system a little bit more simple, also lighter, and obviously a little bit cheaper in production cost. This is how it looks like. This is the shock absorber. The preload adjuster is well known from the EDS system. The rear stroke sensor, as I mentioned, this is this angle measurement device for the swing arm. And the accelerometers in front and rear. The SCU is the computer which collects all the sensor signals and processes the data and chooses the proper strategies for the damping. And we have damping modes. It's very important to know that these damping modes are independent to the riding modes. So if you choose a riding mode, it doesn't mean you choose a damping mode. So we have the damping modes comfort, street, sport, and off-road. And the spread of them are quite very wide. That means you really feel the difference. When we come to semi-active suspensions, the base philosophy is to have a quite soft base setting, and on demand the computer calculates the proper strategy for the electromagnetic valves inside the shock and inside the fork. So the comfort mode is the mode you would notice the semi-active suspension benefits maybe in the biggest kind of way. And the sport and the off-road setting, this is where the semi-active suspension strategy is reduced a lot. I will explain later on why. So the result out of it is a more comfortable and dynamic and safe riding. And I think, in my point of view, in the comfort mode, the smoothness and the comfort advantage is very big. It's really noticeable. And also this system has a anti-dive functionality. And this is very important to know the advantages and disadvantages of anti-dive, because you will not see any serious race bike with having a mechanical anti-dive system. With this system we have the possibility of a traditional fork system and implement an electronic anti-dive system. Why? The anti-dive system has advantages during braking, because the lift up of the rear wheel is reduced. That means the brake distance is shorter. Also an advantage is, especially with a pillion ride, that the movement of the bike is reduced. That means it's a plus in comfort. The disadvantages of anti-dive is, if you don't go into the fork, if you don't go into the stroke of the fork and you brake into a corner, you don't have the dynamic feeling. You don't shorten the trail of the bike. That means the steering behavior is different and is not so sharp. It's not so easy to turn it, and you feel also you don't have the control of the front wheel like on a traditional system. With the KTM Super Adventure you combine it, and we can adapt the anti-dive mode to the riding modes. This is very important to know, especially on the street mode, where we have a quite big anti-dive effect. It's very good for pillion riding, for instance. On the sport mode, it's completely reduced. That means on a racetrack or very dynamic riding where you want to have the movements of the bike, it's still there. And also in the off-road mode, it's completely reduced. So when we come to a really dynamical riding, the anti-dive effect is reduced. And when we go into more comfort riding, the anti-dive effect is a little bit bigger. The same is for the squat and anti-squat effect of the rear wheel. Also, as you know, the anti-squat effect, which allows better traction and less front wheel lift up. That means with the anti-squat effect of this electronical anti-squat system, you can increase the acceleration of the bike and also adapt it to the riding mode. This is something I would never have thought that KTM will ever make a cruise control, but now we have it, and I tried it, and I'm really keen on riding with it on the motorway, for instance. It's a nice feature, and it's a kind of must-have for this category of bike. The functionality of the cruise control is quite similar to a car cruise control, but obviously with some more safety features. That means there are many things which can deactivate the cruise control. This is, for instance, on the throttle, which if you over twist the gas throttle, it's deactivated. And it's also important to know that the cruise control works from the 4th gear to the 6th gear. So if you try it out today and you are in the 3rd gear, it won't work. You activate it very easily. You press the button for activation, you see the yellow light on the dashboard, and when you then in the 4th gear, up from the 4th gear, and you activate the set minus button, then it's activated and you keep the speed you have chosen. So these are the deactivation. So like pull the clutch, or this overclose with the throttle, changing gears, and obviously if you press the button again to switch it off. And also a really nice feature of the bike is the first LED cornering light, which is shown in the tank, right and left, and this is lean angle dependent. That means from 10 degrees starting lean angle, the first LED reflector starts, and then with 20 degree the second, and then with 30 degree the third. And the others, so when you are in the third reflector, the first and the second are dimmed in order not to, for safety reasons, if a car comes towards you, that you don't shine him into his eyes, and to safety reasons. This is how it works. Another nice feature, which is optional for the Super Adventure, is the hill hold control. That means if you stand with the bike on a tiny hill, and that means automatically the brakes are activated by the bike, and it's also kept by 5 seconds. Especially for smaller riders, it's a nice feature. And if you're used to it, you won't miss it. It's also to be switched off on the dashboard, obviously. Another safety issue, which is an optional feature for the bike, is the MSR, is the motor slip regulation. It's quite a bit of an engine. That means also the brake moment of the engine is quite big. That means if you close the throttle, it's the opposite of a traction control. That means the rear wheel speed is measured according to the engine speed. That means the rear wheel would be accelerated a little bit in order not to lose the grip by decelerating the bike by only closing the throttle.
Well, but those are quite some important features, but if we go into each of those features, we will never end this meeting, and I bet everybody is eager to go riding as soon as possible. Just let me mention also that we have improved the comfort and the look of the seat, but also added the feature of heated seat as well as heated grips. And in particular on 1290 Super Adventure, the heated seat has a separate function for the rider and the pinion ride, which has also its own control to adjust the heat of the rear seat individually. As I said, we have no time to go through each of these features, which is immense, too long. Test them by your own during the ride, and maybe come back to us for some, when you want to get some highlights. Just let me highlight that 1290 Super Adventure is coming with standard tire pressure monitoring system, outstanding braking performance thanks to Brembo brakes, side stand and main stand, and many more features as listed over here. And once again, I mean, the list of functionalities in this bike is never ending. Just let me highlight the few of them which are unique in the travel enduro segment. LED cornering light, hill hold control, motor slip regulation, the heated seat, and the most important in my eyes, the motorcycle stability control. Some of our competitors might have a combined ABS, somebody a lean angle sensitive ABS, a lean angle sensitive traction control, somebody has even motor slip regulation, but no other player in the segment has an integrated system which is integrating all those functions together. Well, once again, very complete package already, but there are also possibility to add power parts like luggage, for instance. So the power parts list is very complete, of course, also on 1290 Super Adventure. You remember I started my speech this morning telling that we have 4 adventure models, part of the Model Year 15 KTM Adventure family, and that's the summary. Each of these motorcycles has his own individual positioning, and this is what we really believe that you will find out during the test ride today and later on tomorrow. So the 1050 is the easy and smart entry into the KTM adventure world with lighter weight. The performance is delivered by the 1190 Adventure, which still have the best power to weight ratio in the KTM Adventure family. 1190 Adventure R is really taking the adventure to the extreme, the off-road, the only serious off-road capable travel enduro motorcycle available today. And 1290 Super Adventure is simply making the adventure last longer. All in all, each of these models has its own personality, but all of them together, purity, performance, adventure, and extreme, those are the core values of KTM represented in our range. This is meaning that this range of motorcycle is of course also ready to race.